Hi, I'm Justin Nomar. I'm currently a Howard University student. I'm also a TF for Android Studios 101 and TIP 102. So today, this is prompt 1 of the CodePath application. We were tasked with a situation where a student asks us a question, but we do not have the answer to it. So in this situation, my first thing is to really gain clarification. Hey, thank you so much for bringing this up to me. Just to clarify, are you asking X, Y, and Z? And through that, I'm actually able to kind of like understand what the student is asking. And from there, all right, cool. Thank you so much for clarifying this. Do you mind if we work on this together? Do you mind sharing your screen so we can kind of collaborate and work on this together? Or if we're in person, hey, all right, cool. Let's bring out some pen and paper so we can kind of break this down together, right? And from there, while they're doing that, or like any situation, hey, please allow me a moment while I kind of get my documents ready as well. I'm bringing up the cheat sheet because I don't want to waste anybody's time. I want to be efficient, effective, and intentional with our time, and also leading my student on the right track while instructing them and making sure they are guided right. And so from there, as we're working together, I'm not actively telling them what to do, but we're breaking it down and collaborating. I'm almost acting as if I don't know the answer, but we're working it together and effectively, while being mindful of time in our situation, effectively learning about the subject and understanding, okay, this is what went wrong and this is what we can do to fix it. And let's say, for example, the cheat sheet is not working, or the student wants a more detailed explanation. All right, cool. Let's go to ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT, we are students looking to understand this method, or we are students looking to understand this. And from there, we'll actually be able to look down and list anything. And from there, we can just break down together the issue, how to solve it, and how to collaborate. This is prompt 2. So the situation is that a student is alone and discouraged with progress and collaboration with other peers. I actually had a situation like this with the Android Studios 101 recently, where one of my great students, he felt discouraged and his team wasn't there. And taking into account for this situation, as well as what I know now, this is how I will approach a situation like this. First, I will check into the pod. Hey, for instance, his name was Emmanuel. Hey, Emmanuel, I noticed that the team is not here, man. How are you feeling today? How are you feel about that? And once he told me that he was feeling discouraged and he felt like the pacing of the group was too fast for him, that's when I was like, okay, thank you so much for telling me that. I can understand how you feel and how the pacing of the group can, feel expedited for you. Do you mind if we pull in my IPM so we can kind of work to get a solution for you, Emmanuel? And from there, instead of IPM, I used TFM. But from there, we were able to help Emmanuel. But before my TFM actually was able to come in to continue working on and engaging in a learning environment, I actually sat there with Emmanuel and broke down some problems together. Hey, Emmanuel, while we wait on the IPM, do you mind if you share your screen and we can actually work on some problems together and see how we can kind of like mitigate and collaborate to really understand the problems at hand. And from there, my mindset is to really engage and continue into a learning environment while not wasting time, and also maybe even giving Emmanuel confidence by working with me instead of his usual pod mates. And from there, I'll continue to check up on Emmanuel, even if he moves to a new pod, and do consistent checkups on him to make sure that he's feeling adequate within his environment. I'm Justin Nomar, and we'll be answering prompt 3 of the CodePath TF application. Today we have a situation where we need to help a student determine if a given value exists in a given array. The answer should return the first index of the value if it exists, or -1 if it does not exist in the array. Using Python, Java, or C++. We'll be using Python. I'm also proficient in C++ and JavaScript. But now, answering this prompt in this situation, my job as a TF is not to really command or instruct, but to really collaborate with the student when it comes to situations like this. And so in this way, I will collaborate with the student visually, kinetically, and also verbally using a visual aid. And this visual aid could be like a whiteboard, it could be pen and paper. It can also be, if we're doing virtual or online sessions, it can also be sharing our screen and collaborating using Zoom or like the whiteboard feature on Zoom. But in this situation, let's use our imagination and let's picture that we have a whiteboard right here, or right here somewhere. And so the situation occurs where we have a prompt, and my first initial thing is to really understand the prompt. I want not only for myself, but for the student to really understand what the question is asking us. And so we'll have 5 different things. We'll have what is the prompt asking us, what is given, and what needs to be returned, and for its edge cases and constraints. Those are 5 things that I want us to answer to kind of really understand and break down this prompt. And we'll write everything down. Okay, we are asked to return the index if the value is in that array. If not, return -1. We are also given an array and a desired value. We are asked to do this, and we have edge cases of returning -1 if the value is not within the array. We don't have any listed constraints, but if we run into like any issues, then we can possibly make constraints within the code, but we need to stick to the prompt. And so from there, we have a visual aid and actually like a checklist of things we can actually do. And so when we're making our pseudocode, we can actually refer to this our notes and the prompt as like a visual checklist of things we need to do. And now mentioning pseudocode, we'll get into our pseudocode. So we know that we are given 2 parameters, an array and a desired value. So that means we need a function. So we have a function. And from also, while I'm doing this, even though I'm kind of like the main one speaking, I'm also asking the student, hey, what do you feel like this prompt is asking us? How can we answer these questions that we were given? And what do you feel like should be the first steps within the pseudocode? I'm asking the students, I'm actively engaging the student, so I'm not just taking over. It's a collaboration, it's a 50-50 project. It may be 60-40 sometimes, it may be 40-60, but we're actively working as a team to really break down this problem. And so we have a function, 2 parameters, pseudocode, and then we also inside this function, we also have some way where we can iterate through this through this array. And so I asked the student, hey, what method can we use to iterate? We can use a for loop. If they say while loop, I'll actually kind of be like, okay, cool. A while loop was cool, but for conventional methods, I prefer that we use a for loop because it will actually have an updating variable that we can use in a reference to comparing the index, the value of the index to the desired value. And now we have our loop, and inside that loop, we actually need to compare those values. And so what's the way we can compare those values? If statement. So we have our pseudocode now, and now we also, that's where we go into our actual code, right? So our actual code will actually consist of the function, the 2 parameters, the while loop, the for loop, for index at range len array -1, and we're doing -1 because if we do regular like just len array without the -1, it'll actually go out of bounds. And in that, inside that for loop, we'll actually have the comparison if desired value is equal to the value within that index, then return, because we can return, they want us to return it, return that index and not actually that value. And then outside that loop, we'll actually have return -1. And now after this, I'll actually ask the student to break down this problem to see their understanding and kind of relay to me what do they feel like we solved. And then I'll also will answer any questions that the student will have. Thank you so much, and this is my answer to prompt 3.